All right, welcome to another Monday Night Live. We have quite a few things to talk about tonight. Come on in, have a seat. I see a lot of other people already in the chat, which is awesome. We have Thorold Inspired here every week. Drone Lake Guy. Drone Lake Guy has the cookie emoji, which is by far the absolute best. Mystic Squash is here, Independent Drone Channel. We have Matt Bagwell. What's up, Matt? We have Curtis Warren, Beach Life Drone Guy. Beach Life Drone Guy. I don't think I've seen that name before. Russell Ponce, Robert, James Barreca, Flight Media, Ardos, Jonalan 34, John Jackson, Russell, I said that already. HK, ooh, it's scrolling all over the place. HK is here. AJ Garcia, David. Who else we have? Cool. Lots of cool people. Welcome on board. If you're not familiar, we are doing a 1-hour live Q&A every Monday. You can come in, you can ask any questions you have, and then we'll answer them or try to answer them. If I don't know the answer, I'll make it up. That's not true. Mostly not true. What else? Let's see. What's the link to the community on the web? That's community.pilotinstitute.com for Carlos Lopez. Quick and simple. You'll be able to log in with your Pilot Institute login. Okay, well, I'm going to get to the questions. I know there's a lot of questions about the DJI drone ban. I know we've been talking about this quite a bit. So Robert says, what's up with the DJI drone ban? No update on HR 2864, I think is the number, that latest House bill that we talked about. Like other people have said, and like I mentioned last week, there's a very slim chance of that bill going by. Now, does it mean that we should not be paying attention? No, it doesn't. It means that we need to tell our representative that if they think about doing this in the future, it's not a good idea. So please make sure that you talk to your representative, send them a message, send them a customized message. You can go to the Drone Advocacy Alliance.org website. You'll be able to find a form there where you can talk to your representative and let them know. So it's always good to tell them. Now, it's never good when we have people trying to restrict which drone you can fly, especially when they don't have really a good reason. If they'll tell you they have a good reason, but when you start digging, they don't. John Allen says, I passed my 107 exam, 97 last Thursday. That's awesome. Congratulations, John Allen. I don't know what your first name is, if it's John Allen. But that's awesome. 97. That's 2 questions missed. That's pretty cool. You know what my dad would say? He would say, why not 100? But I'm not my dad. HK says, how quickly and how much to take the 107 exam in the course? The course is $159 right now. The exam is $175 with PSI. And then how long? It's how quickly you can study. Some people do it in 2 weeks. Some people take a month. We have a 2-week program that you can use, which I highly recommend. Don't go too quickly. There's no real point. So make sure that you just take your time, go through all the knowledge, and do all that. Stand by. I'm going to put myself in Do Not Disturb because my watch is blowing up. Okay. Other question. We have AJ Garcia says, I'm a recreational pilot, but very interested in taking night videos and pictures. I live in Miami, Florida metropolitan area. Can I request a permit via the AirWare app and fly my drone? Yeah, you can. Absolutely. It's all going to depend on the type of airspace, but you can request up to the grid number as a recreational pilot using AirAware. Now, AirAware is going to send you to another app, which is called Air Control, to submit the Part 107. We are working with Aloft to make it so you can submit Lance requests directly into the app, which is going to be awesome. We actually have a webinar on Thursday at the same time as it is right now with John Agranis from Aloft. John and I are going to be discussing the AirWare app. We'll be taking questions. There's been a lot of questions about the Before You Fly program. I had talked about the Before You Fly app being discontinued, which it has. And then there's a new program, and I'm going to talk about why. John will be talking about why Aloft is not joining that program, and it's going to be a great discussion. So make sure you join us if you're in the community. I put a reminder there. If you are, And then if you're on one of our YouTube followers, you should see the thing as well in our live page, which is cool. Okay. When do you expect the Mini 5 Pro? That's a good question. It's tough to say because DJI came up with the 3 and then, the 3 Pro and then the 3 and then the 4 Pro in a very short amount of time. And so I was actually surprised when the Mini 4 Pro came out. You'll know when we have a Mini 5 Pro because you'll start to see pictures leaking online. There's no DJI product out there that doesn't leak. Information leaks. I don't think the drone leaks, but yeah. So you'll see. I don't think I've seen anything yet. So it's probably a little bit too early. I think when we start to see the leaks, it's about like a month or two before we start to see the final product. So we'll see if my theory is correct. Does the AirWare app shows the FRIA like the Air Control app does? Yes, it does. Actually, that's the only app out there that does it, is AirWare and Air Control, which is cool. So yeah, absolutely. Rich says, lost my drone license. How can I get a new one? I'm guessing you're talking about your remote pilot certificate. There is a page. If you type, let me see if I can find it real quick. Jason is not behind the scene today. Tom is filtering all your comments, but you can type replacement FAA pilot certificate in your favorite search engine, and then you'll get a link, which is right here. I'm going to put it down in the comments. There it is. That's how you get it. I think it's $2. I think with inflation it went up. It used to be $1. Now it's $2 to get a new one, and then they'll send you a new card in the mail. Is AirWare honing to get Lance? Yeah, we are working on that with, that's the next big update that is going to be done to the app, along with a few other things. We'll talk about that on Thursday with John. But yes, we are going to be having Lance integrated into the app. Corey, the video guy, says, what is your thought on the Potensic Atom SE versus DJI? I've never flown the Potensic drones, but I've seen them. It's not going to be to the level of a DJI drone, I can tell you that. So if it's the same amount of money or close to it, I would definitely go with the DJI drone. Let's just put it this way. Russell says, is there such a thing as flying drone too much? No. It's like eating too much chocolate. That doesn't exist. So yeah, absolutely. Go for it. It doesn't make you blind or deaf. So that's good. What, are you guys laughing back there? See, I told you I'm funny. By the way, these guys back there, we have Ben and Ethan. They have their own camera, but I don't know if they're going to turn it on or not. But we've kind of reset up the whole studio, and now they have their own high-quality camera, so you can see them in 4K and everything. Okay. Engineered Drone Services says, today in one of the community chats, someone stated that NOTAMs are not no-fly zones. My question is, I thought they could be like the one in Massachusetts. Okay. NOTAMs are notices to air mission, formerly known as notices to airmen. Notices to air mission means that they could have restrictions in them. All the TFR, temporary flight restrictions, are issued by NOTAMs. Not all NOTAMs are flight restrictions. I hope that makes sense. All TFRs, all flight restrictions are NOTAMs, but not all NOTAMs are flight restrictions. So because there is a NOTAM doesn't mean there is a flight restriction. So you have to read the NOTAM. I don't really have time to go and look at this one, but if you want to tag me in the community, I can go and check it when I'm done here. But essentially, it depends on what the notification says. There's a lot of NOTAMs out there for UAS operation, and UAS operation by NOTAM only means that it's a notice to air missions that there is a drone mission being conducted in that area. It doesn't mean that there is a restriction. So I have to read that specific one, but just so you know, that's how it works. Can the police take my drone from me in New York City or just give me a ticket? Yeah, I know not to fly in the city unless an approved area, 249 grams. It's even worse than that. The weight of the drone has nothing to do with flying in New York City or not. Even small drones are not allowed to fly in the city unless you're flying at a specific park. There is only a few. Can they take your drone? I I don't know, actually. I'm not sure if they can confiscate. I've seen it done before. I don't know. I don't know the authority, what authority they would to take it. But yeah, I don't know, actually. That's a good question. But yeah, that's... Yeah, if it was, that's what I'm thinking, if it was evidence, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't think they would need a warrant to take it, do they? Yeah, I'm sure they'll take it. Yeah, I'm sure they would take it, but as far as is it legal or not? Do you have a legal right to fly a drone? Flying a drone is not a constitutional right. It's so no, it's not. It's not like the freedom of speech or that kind of stuff. It's not in the Constitution. If my drone weighs less than 250 grams and I have a Part 107, do I still need to get it registered? Yes. All drones, regardless of weight, must be registered when flown under Part 107 rules. Is your Part 107 comprehensible for the average person? Yeah, absolutely. We've trained 90,000+ people now that are average, including Ben back here, who's one of our employees, but a perfect average person.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah. No, I had no aviation background before I started here, and I'm thinking I'm one of the few of us that actually took our course to actually pass the Part 107, right? I think Tom might have taken a little bit of it, but he had aviation background.
Yeah, Tom is a pilot already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're the first employee and only employee that's taken it.
That sounds like it could be a reward.
A reward if found?
No, it seems like it's an accomplishment that could be eligible for a reward.
Oh,
just
yeah. You'll get a free cookie next time we order
free
crumble.
cookies. Done.
We found a very exclusive cookie club today. What was it called?
It's very oddly.
Is it last crumble? Last crumb.
I don't
last
know
crumb.
if we can show the B-roll. It's like it's racy.
Yeah, it's very racy. So I don't know if you guys know. For those of you that have been watching us a lot, we do love cookies here, and we make a joke about crumble all the time. But we found this new thing, which is kind of like a cookie of the month club, kind of, and it's very expensive. It's like $750 a year, I think, for the membership.
Yeah, I think it gets hand delivered.
Well, I don't know. It probably should at that price.
For $750.
But yeah, the website makes it very sexy. It's very sexy to eat cookies. And so I'm not as affiliated with them, but if they want to sponsor us, please reach out directly. ben@pilotinstitute.com is my email. Okay. Patrick says, I have a question. Where do most people start for general employment after getting their 107? Ooh, that is a good question. So we just had a great discussion with Jared, who was here last week. We recorded a whole video on this kind of stuff. The employment is going to depend really on which industry you're going to be flying in. So it all depends on what you want to do with the drone. The drone is just a tool. Remember, it's just a tool to capture data. There's a lot of things that you can do with a drone. So it's going to depend on what industry you're interested in working, what skills you have prior to flying a drone. That's where I would look. I know it's a very vague answer, but it's really a very wide industry. Yes, Ben?
And that's one of the things we're doing with community, right?
What do you mean?
With community, we have some exclusive content that's coming to community specifically for people that, what do we do after we get our Part 107, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're going to have... Yeah, we're going to have a full section on where we interview people that have successful businesses, and we're going to ask them questions, and you'll see the answer. It's actually going to be really cool. It's going to take us a few months to get it done because we want to make it high value, and I think it's going to be really interesting. Mikey says, was thinking about getting the Mini 2 and my Part 107. Will I be able to be in compliance with the remote ID rule with the Mini 2? Or will I have to get the Mini 3 or Mini 4? So the Mini 2 is not remote ID compliant out of the box. You can put a module on top of it and then it will be compliant, or you can upgrade to a Mini 3 or Mini 4. But for Part 107, you're going to need remote ID regardless of the weight. including the Mini 2. So yeah, you'll need a module or you'll need to get a new drone, a different drone. Are there any domestically manufactured drones that have the same capability and price point as DJI? No, that's the big contention at the moment, is that you have these politicians that want to ban DJI, but there's no replacement for that. So, or if there is a somewhat close enough replacement, the price tag is just through the roof. So there's no replacement for DJI right now for hobby drone, commercial, light commercial drone, non-enterprise drone. Let's put it this way. So yeah, that's definitely an issue. Cascade Drone Services says, I have a Mini 3 Pro and a Mini 2, wanting more dramatic camera angles with the upward tilt. Air 3 seems expensive for the same camera as the Pro, but the Mini 4 seems less stable in the wind. Thoughts? The Air 3 to me is one of the best platform out there for the value at the moment. I would sell the Mini 2 and get an Air 3. I don't think that I would sell the Mavic 3 Pro because I think that you have a bigger sensor, better quality. But if you wanted a good replacement, the Air 3 is the way to go. Obviously, if you have the Mini 3, you already have multiple cameras. You have 3 cameras. The Mini 4 is a similar sensor. It's not exactly the same as the Air 3. But in our testing, the Mini 4 and the Air 3 wide camera are very similar in quality. So you could get a Mini 4, replace the Air 3 wide-angle camera. As far as the zoom camera on the 3, you can use the Mavic 3 Pro for that. So a good combo, Mavic 3 Pro and Mini 4, those are great combo. I don't remember what the Mini 4 does for upward tilt. I don't remember. So many drones. Ensuel says, how can you fly in national parks like the Grand Canyon? You cannot fly in the national parks like the Grand Canyon. You will not get approval to fly there, I can tell you right now. The Grand Canyon, especially because it has an airspace restriction in addition to a ground restriction. Please, 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 please do not fly at the Grand Canyon. You will get fined. You will make it more difficult for anyone in the future if that ever comes up as a discussion. And you could start wildfire in the Grand Canyon, which is not a good idea because it's a very difficult place to access for search and rescue. Does AirAware display upcoming TFRs? Yes, it should except for the Stadium TFR, it should display all TFRs. Is it still wintry in Prescott? It's been beautiful. Spent all weekend in shorts and t-shirts outside playing with the kids. We've had an amazing week after our whole week of snow a couple weeks ago. All the snow has melted. It's back to normal. Now it's end of February. March can still be edgy, so we could have a beautiful March or even some snow in March. So I'm not saying we're done with winter yet, but I think the worst is behind us. Knock on wood. Okay, Craig Goodspeed says, will we ever be able to put an AirAware notification for more than 60 minutes? I have an Air 3 with 4 batteries. Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Are you talking about, I'm guessing you're talking about Notify and Fly, or are you talking about Lance approval? Because Lance approval should be unlimited. You can do it for as long as you want. Maybe Notify and Fly. I'll talk to John about it and see what he says. Is there any reason you can only submit for the current day with AirAware? I'm currently having issues with the app. No, you should be able to submit for any time you want. I don't think I've ever seen that restriction. So, Richard, you can email us if you want, or email Loft actually directly. They might be able to get you better support for that. But no, it should not be an issue. Will the police have drones in the future? They already do. Connected to Google or iPhone system. Yikes. I mean, the police is already using drones for a variety of different things. Like they've used helicopters for doing the same thing in the past. So they use it for crime stopping and for helping their officers on the ground and keep them safe. It is the way it is. Yeah. Am I able to use Ground Station Pro if I do the DJI update on the Mavic 2 Pro? No, I don't think Ground Station Pro is compatible with the Mavic 2 Pro? That would be a good question for Jared, but I don't think Jared is in the comments. You'd have to look at the compatibility list for Ground Station Pro, not something that I used on a regular basis. Vic says they can confiscate it if there is any possibility it contains evidence. Okay, yeah, that's what we were saying earlier. That goes back to the question about the drone being confiscated in New York. They cannot look at the imagery without a warrant. Yep, that makes sense. Absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with what Vic says.
Tom further confirmed it.
Yeah, and Tom, who's in the back, a former law enforcement officer, also confirmed. Malcolm says, to your knowledge, what's the status of drone use in other continents, Africa in particular? Given the choice, what would be your favorite industry to invest in while working in those areas? Ooh, that's a good question. I know that Zipline has been flying in Africa a lot to do drone delivery, which I think, based on the remoteness of the country and some of the villages everywhere, I think is an absolute amazing use of drones. As far as what else in Africa, I'm not sure actually. Mapping might be a good idea as well. One of the continents where I've never been, although I've lived pretty close to it for a while, but I've never been to Africa. So I don't have a very vast knowledge of how Africa works. But I know that for the mapping, for the delivery, makes a lot of sense.
Maybe 2025, huh?
2025?
Yeah. We'll fly to
for
Africa.
visiting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's wait for the kids to be older to do international travel.
Okay.
Benny Penny is saying, are you going to update the drone survey mapping LiDAR with new disclaimers about surveying legal definition considering current case in North Carolina? It's already updated. We already have a full discussion in there about surveying and what it means. It's nothing new. North Carolina, the story about North Carolina is several years old already. But yeah, Jared has a full discussion on that in the course as it is. Derek Doodoo says, what rules do I need to follow when my drone is under 250 grams? All of the rules. Every single rules you have to follow regardless of the weight of the drone, except for one, which is registration. You don't have to register the drone if it's flown for recreational purposes. But all the other rules apply. Altitude limits, line of sight, all of that, airspace authorization, all of those still apply. Sky Curtain says, on the topic of sunglasses again, wouldn't they help improve VLOS on bright sunny days? No, the FAA has been clear about this. Sunglasses are okay. Is there a chip shortage? Seems like all Whoop are out of stock. I tell you what, parts for FPV drones have been out of stock since 2020 pretty much. There's always a shortage. I think that the chip shortage is better than it was right after COVID, but I still think there is a shortage. There's a huge plant in the Phoenix area close to us that's supposedly going to take care of that shortage. When I say huge, it's massive, like one of the biggest plant in the world or in the country. So yeah, they're supposed to be taking care of that shortage over there, which is cool. Local in the US. Why did DJI do a mass DOC update on their models? That's a great question, John Jackson. We had that discussion with Vic on Friday in the community. We do a Friday happy hour at 4 o'clock every Friday if you want to join in the community. The idea is that there was a problem where a lot of the DJI drones, instead of having a range of serial number, they only showed 2 serial numbers. And that has to do with the way the application is on the FAA website when you submit for a DOC. The FAA wasn't capturing the fact that this was a range. So it would show that only 2 serial numbers were approved, the first one and the last one in the list. So they've updated that and they fixed it. That's why the updates is for all the models. And we get that confirmed by the FAA. Dawn says, if one wanted to notify the FAA on continuing unsafe and illegal flying shown on YouTube video channel, would they contact their local FISDO? You would need to contact the FSDO where those flights are happening. So if you know where this person is flying, and if you think they're flying dangerously, then I would contact that specific FSDO. They'll be able to take action. You'll need to provide as much proof as you can. A video alone on YouTube is not proof enough for them to take action. But they can take action to send a letter to say, hey, we've noticed that you're flying recklessly and please stop. Superman is in the chat.
Is it a bird?
How cool is that? It's not
Is
a
it a
bird.
plane?
It's Superman.
It's
For-
Superman.
For bonus points, Greg,
Yeah?
can you tell us, is Superman Marvel or DC?
Oh,
And I do feel like you're going to get judged for this.
I don't think he'll get it.
I don't think you will either.
No, it's totally DC.
Oh, you did. That's a cookie for Greg.
See, if you say it with enough, like, you know what you're talking about, it just goes by.
That was a guess. That was 100% a guess.
No, I totally knew it.
Oh, okay.
Superman says, if I remove the camera from my drone, does it still fall under FAA drone rules in the United States? Yes, the FAA does not. The FAA does not regulate cameras. They regulate aircraft that are flying in the airspace. But with that being said, I would question why Superman needs a drone. I would think Superman can just grab the camera and fly around. So just me, but I'm not going to mess with Superman. Sky Curtain says, can someone who doesn't have trust fly under someone who has it? Yes, you can do that. Absolutely. You just got to be able, that person needs to be able to take the controls. Things Forsaken says, I just took my recurrent exam. Congratulations. Do I need to enter any of that information in IACRA? You do not. All you have to do is print the completion certificate, keep it with you when you fly as either as a PDF, a digital file, or printed version. There's your pilot certificate card that you have is valid forever. It doesn't have an expiration date on it, so you don't need to tell the FAA anything. Speed Limit Challenger says, if you have a Part 107 but want to fly sub 250 drone recreationally only, do you still have to register? You do not. So you could have a Part 107 certificate. If you have a drone that you fly for recreational purposes all the time, don't register that drone. Just fly it recreationally if it's sub 250, and then you'll be good to go. Just make sure you follow those rules and that you comply with all the rules. Johnny Droneflyer says, does Superman have remote ID? Is Superman exempt from remote ID?
Yeah, he is.
Because he's not remote controlled.
Well, he goes more than 100 miles an hour for sure.
True. Okay. Lots of good questions tonight from very important people. RP says, regarding remote ID, what program are ideal for 3D modeling for the Mavic 2 Pro? Modeling completely different than remote ID. But the Mavic 2 Pro, you can use a variety of different software, third-party software, to do mapping with that, because that drone still had the SDK. So yeah, it's available. Is it a violation to post ground footage of a drone flying without Part 107? Nope. The FAA, again, remember, the FAA does not regulate photography, videography, cameras, or anything like that, or posting of footage for that matter. They regulate flying. So if you post ground footage, it doesn't matter. One Eye in the Sky says, what are your thoughts on remote ID modules dropping in price? I feel a lot of people are going to bulk at pricing. Yeah. So you mentioned the $200 price point. There's a lot of modules that are cheaper than that. Now, I was hoping we would get them at $50 a pop max, around $30, $40 maybe. The cheapest one right now is the ZRID, or I never remember their name. It's American made, and it's $85. So it's not $200, but it's still $85. I don't think the price is going to drop any further right now. We're kind of in the middle of it, where production levels are as high as they're going to be, is my guess at this stage. So I don't think the pricing is going to go down. But yeah. Where do you get trained for night flying? that's, I mean, something that you should do on your own by practicing it. We have a free night flying module on pilotinstitute.com, so make sure you go check that out. Give you a lot of tips, but at one point is, up to you to go and practice. What's the stats for the Autel Alpha? I don't have them in front of me, but I think it's on their website. It's a pretty powerful machine. It looks like kind of a Matrice. It's like between a Matrice 30 and a Matrice 300 as far as like where it would stand. But I think I'm going to get to see one next week on Monday. I'm not going to be here, by the way. No live on Monday next week. I'm going to be traveling. But we're going to Texas with Jason, and then we should be able to fly one. So I'll let you know more the following week. RC Adventure says, my Mini 2 is registered because I added landing gear and a gimbal guard. Do I need to get remote ID on it? Yep. If it's over 250 grams, as soon as you start adding more, it needs to be registered and it needs to have remote ID. As soon as you register the drone, it needs remote ID, whether it's required to have registration or not. Soggy Bottoms says, sorry, I got here a little late. Are the 249-gram batteries allowed in your carry-on bag for airline travel? Carry-on? Yeah. They actually are required to be in your carry-on. You cannot have them checked in your check bag. Russell says, is there a way to connect my MetaQuest 2 VR headset with my Mini 2 or Mini 3 for FPV experience? Not that I know of. I don't think there is a version of the DJI app for the MetaQuest in the Meta store. 99% sure. Sky Curtain says, does the Mini 4 Pro use the same sensor as the Air 3? It's the same size sensor, but it's not the exact same sensor. They're close. In quality, they're pretty close on the wide-angle lens. They're very close. Richard Hooker says, what email address should I use to reach you directly? Greg at Pilot Institute. Danny says, what is the best current app for Part 107? It depends. What do you want to do? Depends on what you want to do. A lot of different apps for a lot of different things. We have Travis says, would you consider testifying in Congress or in the Arizona State House against the DJI bill being sponsored? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Bring it. I would love to go and testify against some of the people out there that are spewing lies about what DJI drones can do, including folks that are saying that those drones are capturing heart rate data. I would love for them to show me how to unlock that feature.
If you did, would you wear a tie?
If I did, would I wear a tie?
Would you wear a tie if you went to Congress?
I think isn't that required?
Is it?
Is it like restaurant? Do they give you a jacket?
If you wore a tie, it would be the second time I've ever seen you wear a tie in my life.
You know, Ben, I used to wear a tie every single day.
Yeah, I did for 15 years.
Yeah.
You got me beat?
No, I didn't do it for 15 years.
Do you still have ties?
Yeah. Ties to who? No, I don't enjoy. I used to dress up every day. I don't enjoy dressing up. I love being able to go in my closet, pick one of the 5 shirts that I have like this that looks exactly the same, pick one of the 5 pants that is exactly the same brand, just a different color, and then put it in there. Do we have a tie?
Sorry, Ethan just brought over the tie picture.
Oh, is that I'm not mad, I'm disappointed? Oh,
Yep.
yeah, that's the best. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's a
Look at
gold
that.
tie. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. With all the GPS spoofing going on and messing with commercial flights, is this something to be worried about with your drones? Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that can affect your drone, but your drone can fly without GPS. You just got to be aware of what it does when you don't have GPS. So, yeah. Vic says, put me in, coach. I'll testify anywhere. Yeah, Vic would probably be better than me at testifying. I tend to get very passionate. Not that Vic doesn't get passionate, but I get passionate and annoyed at nonsense. I have very low tolerance for bullshit. Let's put it this way. Uh, I've never, yeah, and I call it like it is, and usually people don't like this. They call it unprofessional. I call it just being open, and yeah, people don't like being, yeah, people don't like being called out when they say BS, and I call them out. What is the recommended video editing software for PC when putting your drone footage together? There's a few options for PC. You can get Adobe Premiere is kind of like the big standard. It's expensive. It's a monthly fee. You can get Blackmagic. What's the Blackmagic?
DaVinci.
DaVinci Resolve, which is free with option to purchase more. I would personally go with DaVinci, quite frankly. I think DaVinci is a strong platform. Whatever you do, pick one now and then learn through it. They're all extremely capable. They all have tiny little things that are better than others. We use Final Cut because we use them on Mac, and I think for the Mac, that's the best platform. It's great at doing multicam, which we do a lot of, but they're all great, quite frankly. It's not like an Apple versus Android kind of battle. I think all of them have their strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. Russell says, what's the penalty for making your remote ID follow you while you drive using the follow me feature on Litchi? I don't know what the penalty is. I just don't think it's a good idea. I mean, it depends on where you are. Making it follow you while you drive can be done safely if you're in a non-populated area. David says, is it possible for DJI to update their firmware to allow users to turn off and on remote ID on the Mini 4 Pro? It is not. So the FAA in Part 89 has this thing called that requires the drone to not be, let's put it this way. It requires remote ID to be tamper-proof and cannot be turned on or off by the user, essentially. So having an on-off switch in remote in the drone would basically make it not tamper-proof, which would make it not possible to get a declaration of compliance. So no, you wouldn't be able to get approval for that. That's the name. BWLDRD1. 1. How can I tell for sure if my drone is remote ID compliant? I've seen the list and I'm still confused. It depends on your drone. If you have a DJI drone, you can click on like the middle left of the screen. There's a little area here where you can click to get the status on the DJI GoFly app, and then it will tell you if it's broadcasting remote ID. You can also go into the settings and look at the About section, and in the About section, it will show you the remote ID serial number. It's usually a good sign that you have a remote ID compliant drone. Vincent, oh, actually, there's a follow-up question here. Retreat Photo says, regarding being direct and business not liking it, do you find it's cultural or American thing? Yeah, it's definitely a cultural thing. I think the US is way more PC, and I think Europe in general will call out. And yeah, it's definitely something where, well, and it's not even, it's calling out, but it's also having a debate. And I think people have debates differently in different languages, in different cultures. If I had to deal with Arabian countries, for example, and it almost feels like a shouting match when you're talking with them because the way that they interact with people. I think Russian people in general are also kind of like that, and I don't want to stereotype because it's not true for everyone, but it's a cultural thing, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they're looking for that more of a confrontation and more being direct. I think in Europe it's kind of in between that and the US, where if something is not right, you're going to speak up and kind of say it. And I think the US just kind of sugarcoats in general things a little bit more. And so it's definitely a cultural thing, but I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I'm also not shy at telling people that what they're saying is incorrect or it's complete BS. And, it is what it is. And I'm not going to stop doing it, I can tell you that. But I think there's also a way to do it and a way to say it. But sometimes it may come up as a little coarse, but that's fine. I don't mind being that. Vincent, will you elaborate on the additional equipment for flying for the Part 107 in North Carolina? So North Carolina has an additional test, which is free, that you have to take to show that you understand the rules in North Carolina. They have slightly different requirement. They have so make sure that you take that. It's free. There's no additional fee. I said that incorrectly one time in one of the live where I said that North Carolina has an additional fee for registration. That's not correct. It's actually free. There's another state, I think Washington State has a paid additional registration for drones. Do you think the Mini 4 Pro or the Air 3 will be ever compatible with the RC Pro? That's a good question. I don't really follow the logic that DJI has for these controllers. And I don't understand why they wouldn't make them compatible with all the drones. In my head, it makes sense because you have this more expensive controller. Just make it available to every possible drone you can. That way you sell more of them. That's just my business logic. But I don't know why they're not doing that. I don't know if it's a technology thing. I don't know if they don't want you to have the ability to install third-party software with certain drones, because the regular RC controller doesn't allow you to install third-party. The RC Pro does. So that could be one of the reasons, but I'm not quite sure. But yeah. Engineer Drone Services says, any idea if the Arc 5 Mini is still available? Jason had mentioned it during office hours. Can't find one. Reach out directly to Firehouse. I'm not actually sure. It's a question I can ask because I think I'm going to see their CEO in Texas next week. So I'll see. Did the chat? I lost the feed. Nope, we're good. Back on. Okay. Ron says, where are you heading to in Texas? We're going to Burnet, Texas, which is northwest of Austin. The good thing is we don't have to fly commercial. We're actually going to be flying the plane, going there and landing directly in Burnet. So that's going to be awesome. I'm excited. It's going to save me a lot of hours. Engineer Drone Services says Greg would wear a bow tie. I don't know. I don't think I can pretty much say with certainty that I've never worn a bow tie.
But if he does, I guarantee we'll get a picture of it and use it in a thumbnail.
You don't know how to tie one?
No, that's when you use Velcro.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I do the same thing with my shoes. I don't know how to tie my shoes, so I just use Velcro. It's a lot quicker.
Oh yeah, that's legit.
Yep. I do know how to tie my shoes. STOVL Stovel says, if DJI can monitor my heart rate, will it count the number of steps I take per day? Man, if only. Yeah. And how many calories you take. Any thoughts you have that goes against the Chinese Communist Party, they'll tell you as well. Yeah, it's pretty advanced. Sky Curtain says, should I get the wide-angle lens for the Mini 4? It depends. It depends on what you want to do. We have it. It depends on what you want to do. It's not useless, I can tell you that. It's actually it's pretty cool because it's not super wide, super much wider. It's just a little bit wider. William says it's still safe to
Buy.
Oh, to buy. Thank you. Is it still safe to buy a DJI drone? Yeah, I mean, at this stage, I don't think... yeah, I would say yes, absolutely. Which U.S. drone manufacturers would be on short list for public safety operation, mainly fire? Depends on your budget, but it depends on several things. It depends on your budget. It depends on the requirements from your state. So if you have a requirement from your state, you probably need to buy a blue drone, a blue UAS drone, which means a drone that meets the blue UAS standards, which means that the list is very limited for public safety. You need to get a Skydio, or you would need to get a Parrot Anafi USA. That's the only two that I can think of at this stage. Retreat Photos says regarding being direct. Okay, I read that one already.
Tech chip.
Is the DJI Air 2S the cheapest drone from DJI with SDK support? I think the Mini is the cheapest one, but the Air 2S is definitely the best image quality for the price that is SDK compatible. James says, how do mapping professionals handle flying over people? Are they getting waivers, not crowds, but people and moving vehicles in parking lots? The ones that I talked to are not getting waivers. They're just flying around it and planning around it. So we just had a discussion with Jared, and he basically, same for visual line of sight, he follows the drone because he flies in mostly unpopulated areas or very low population. Antonio says, if I take your course for Part 107, can I take the exam in Puerto Rico? I do not know the answer to that, but you can go on the DJI website and you will be able to see the DJI, the PSI, another I, the PSI list of approved areas. Before You Fly is no longer available with the app. What can I use instead? Use Air Aware, which is the app that we developed in conjunction with Aloft. But yes, the Before You Fly app is no longer available. And people said that I lied when I said it wasn't going to be available anymore, and it is no longer available. So I accept your apologies, people that said that I lied. Times Leader Video says, if I have my 107 in Pennsylvania, do I still need to have the additional North Carolina if I want to fly my drone there? Yes, if you do commercial operation in North Carolina, you need it. Russell says, my last question, is it illegal to make a what?
A hamster is a type of rodent, Greg.
Is it?
Yeah.
My last question, is it illegal to make a hamster ride on your drone? No.
I assume they would be in one of those protective little balls.
I would hope so, or with a helmet at least.
Or a parachute.
I would say as long as you're not flying the hamster, as long as the hamster is not paying you for a ticket to go commercial anywhere, because that would be Part 135 operation otherwise. But no, otherwise, if you want to fly your hamster around, give him or her the ride of their life. Just don't hurt them, please. Cloud Camper says, back to remote ID with the Mini 4 Pro. Is it true that using the 249 battery, it does not broadcast remote ID versus the heavier battery? Yes, that is correct. The smaller battery on the Mini 4 Pro does not broadcast remote ID. If you fly it under Part 107, you need to add a module in order to do that. Superman is back. What altitude does the FAA start regulating the drones in the USA? Above the blade of grass. Anywhere in the US below 400 feet is where you can fly your drone, and it's controlled by the FAA. There's no airspace other than indoors where you can fly without the FAA controlling that. Chris Cola says, hey, do you think the bill to ban DJI will pass? No, I don't think the bill to ban DJI drones will pass. I don't think so. At least not this one as it is right now. It's just poorly written if you ask me, but not surprising. Dean Schaefer says, do you have any good settings for the Mini 2? This is my real first drone. New pilot, still pretty green on the controls. Dean, head over to our website. We have a free course on the DJI Mini 2. We'll help you with that. It's free. It's available on there. It's a deep dive. So go to the drone section and then find the deep dive for the Mini 2.
Make sure to switch into mode 3.
Do not listen to Ethan. Do not switch it to mode 3. Sky Curtain says, I assume all drone rules that are used on the mainland are used in other U.S. territory like Guam. Yes. Yes. Oldman X says, is it risky to get into a drone business while the government is still trying to ban DJI drones? No, I don't think so, quite frankly. I know we've talked a lot about the DJI ban, but no. I think the days we will see an actual DJI bans are nowhere near, but it doesn't mean we should be complacent, and we should not let our politicians know that this is not acceptable. Regarding the hamster question, I'm assuming that the hamster is driving the drone. If the hamster is driving the drone, it's no longer a remote control drone. It's now an aircraft. So the hamster would have to be certified by the FAA or fly under Part 103. Good question. I don't know. Teabag says, do you provide classes on video editing? Ish. We have a section in the photography and videography course on video editing, basics of things you can do in Final Cut and Premiere. We have some also in the real estate course, but we don't have a specific course on just video editing. Tech Chip says, he says, so wait, if I build a tiny, very light roof and mount it on my drone, the FAA can't regulate. No, that's not how it works. You need to have 4 walls as well that touch the ground at the same time, or a few walls. Fernando says, if you're Part 107 doing roofing photos and the neighbor is tanning in the nude, how do you handle that? Depends. How old is the neighbor? I'm just kidding. So this is interesting. It's a privacy thing, right? So expectation of I'm going to give you the legal reason, and I'm going to give you the what you should do reason. It's a privacy thing. Expectation of privacy in most states is inside of the house. So the same question would be, hey, if somebody is in the mall and they're naked, is there an expectation of privacy? And the answer is no, they're in public. Now, I know that your backyard is not technically the public, but it doesn't fall under expectation of privacies. Now, should you be flying your drone over people's yards and taking pictures of their yards? No, you should not. So it's not because you can that you should. I say that a lot. OEM Global says, are drone regulations in China more... And by the way, no, I'm not going to say it. Are drone regulations in China more or less strict than what we have here in the land of the free? I actually don't know the answer to that. Never been to China. I don't know. It's a good question. I was going to say, I'm going to say it anyway because I think it's funny. But I've been to plenty of French beaches which allow topless people to be there. The people that decide to go topless are usually not the ones that you want to see. I'm just going to say that. So, engineering challenge: design a hamster-powered drone. Ooh, hamster-powered drone that can glide down to safety if the hamster needs a break. Thought. I think that's something we should sponsor. Hamster-powered drone, man. Hamster wheel, thing just goes. That'd be fun. Ray of Sunshine says, oh my, so I need to have a bigger battery for the Mavic 3 to broadcast remote ID if this is required for the Mini 4. So the Mini 3 Pro doesn't work like the Mini 4 Pro. The Mini 3 Pro broadcasts regardless of the size of the battery. The Mini 3 non-Pro works like the Mini 4 Pro. I know it's not logical, but it is what it is. Why is the aloft air control airspace class B, C, and D overlay so dark it's hard to see the roads, railroad, blah, blah, blah? I'm guessing maybe you're using Android. We noticed that on Android, some of the airspace is a bit harder to read. For some reason, it wasn't an issue on the iPhone. I'm not sure why exactly, other than because the iPhone is better, but so that's with Ben.
Yeah, iPhone.
So I'm not sure actually, but yeah, there's we noticed a bit of a difference in overlay. Helen Hember says, greetings. Have you done a deep dive on the Mavic Pro Platinum? No, we have not. The original Mavic Pro and the Pro Platinum is one of the only drones we don't have a deep dive for. Follow-up question, do you think I should buy a DJI drone in the US even with all the bills? Yes, I don't think that's a reason not to purchase. Destiny says, does the hamster, this hamster thing is going, maybe we should do a video on that.
Done.
Well, yeah, we might get in trouble though with the, what's the protection of animal
PETA.
Agency? Huh? PETA? Oh yeah, PETA, that's right.
Like the bread.
Like the bread.
We'll have to use a CGI hamster.
That's right. Does the hamster have to wear goggles and a scarf to be compliant? Yeah, I think that's actually a requirement to win the contest.
I would disagree with the scarf because, like in Incredibles, a superhero with a cape is a liability.
That's
A
true.
scarf could be
Yeah,
tangled
but
up in those props.
Wouldn't Superman disagree to that?
Yeah.
And Batman?
Okay, Greg, fine. You win this round.
Wait, here's a question for you. Which one is Batman? Is that DC or the other one?
You know that's DC.
I know it's DC. I have plenty of Lego Batman. Look, Mom, a drone. That's a joke. Why doesn't AirWare app work on the RC Pro Enterprise controller? I don't know, actually. Why? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. It's Android compatible. It should absolutely work. Sky Control Production says, where is a place you want to fly? The Grand Canyon would definitely be one of those because we live close to the Grand Canyon. It's one of the absolute marvel of Mother Nature. But I've flown over the Grand Canyon plenty of times and it never gets old. I can tell you that. It never gets old. Absolutely amazing. Other places, an active volcano is definitely on the bucket list. We don't have any of those in the US yet. So we might have to wait a little bit, but yeah, that'll be cool. Hey, look at Penny back there.
Have you flown anywhere over the ocean, Greg?
Fly over the ocean?
With a drone.
It's not super interesting to fly over the ocean, quite frankly,
Yeah.
unless there's something in the water. But flying over water is also pretty boring, quite frankly. There's just nothing. No, I'm a mountain guy. I like the mountainous terrain, so I would love, something really cool with a cool mountain. I mean, Iceland is definitely on the list as well to fly there, or to just visit in general. But yeah, that would be my choice. We're getting close to the end here. I think we're going to shut down questions for right now, but I'm going to keep answering whatever is left. Jeff says, if I'm flying in my neighborhood and I fly over a neighbor's house and I'm not recording or nothing, am I allowed to do that as long as I'm not hovering or recording? Yeah, you can actually hover over somebody's house. Again, because you can doesn't mean you should. I would be very reluctant to fly over a neighborhood unless I had a good reason to do so, like doing a photo shoot, for somebody's real estate house. But otherwise, yeah, I'd be very reluctant to do that. But yeah, you're allowed to do that. Matt Prop says, although highly recommended, is it required to have liability insurance when doing a small 107 job if the client doesn't require it? It is not required by the FAA. The FAA is not in the business of insurance, and so or requiring insurance. So no, it's not. Is it a good idea to not have insurance? It's not, but you could. Steven says, when I changed batteries on my Mavic 3 Classic or Pro, the waypoint changed slightly. Is that normal? Ooh. I don't know, actually. It's not normal. There should be no reason why it should change. Oh, the waypoints. Yes. It is normal-ish because those waypoints are based on... We had that issue. Remember, Ben, when we filmed the Air 3? I think we recorded a bunch of waypoints, and they're all based on the altimeter. And they're based on GPS, so I think there's a slight difference in realignment. We were trying to do a very precise flight several times, and then when you change, I came back the next day and I did the flight again, and it wasn't as precise. So I think that's what it is.
There's even some discrepancy without changing the batteries too, just
yeah.
between a couple of flights.
It's just not. If you want to make it super perfect, you get the Inspire 3 because it uses RTK to do all that stuff and it's extremely precise, but otherwise, those other drones, we've noticed the same thing. Drones Over Michigan says, why did the FAA skip the letter F in airspace classification? They actually didn't. So there used to be Class F airspace in the US a long, long time ago, before my time, before I started flying. And then Canada has a Class F airspace as well. Chris Cole, I don't know why they changed it. I think they simplified it, but I'm kind of glad. We have enough letters as it is. Chris Cola says, I've been wanting a budget drone and I'm planning on getting the Mini 3 bundle, but I've been seeing some hate towards the Mini 3. What are your thoughts? I think the Mini 3 is awesome. I don't know about the non-pro version. I've never flown that one, but we have the Pro in the office. We used it for a few shoots and it's quite good. Chris Richardson says, is there a way to stream DJI Avata display wirelessly? Not wirelessly. You have to plug into your phone, and then from your phone, you could display wirelessly. So if you have an iPhone, for example, you could use AirPlay to something else, or you could use, I don't know what the technology is on Android, but I'm sure they have something equivalent that doesn't work as well. Sorry, I take a lot of jabs at Android, but I think it's a great platform for
Google Cast?
people. Google Cast, yeah, Chromecast.
Cast, right.
Okay. Yeah, don't be mad. I mean that in a... I really could care less about people using one platform or the other. Use whatever works for you, quite frankly. What is the FAA stance on flying when it's foggy? As long as you're able to keep line of sight, do they consider fog a cloud? Fog is a cloud by definition. And I know some people at the FAA disagree with me, but I will continue saying that because it says black and white in the FAA documentation that fog is a cloud at the surface. Fog is not, you're not allowed to fly in fog. As a matter of fact, if you fly under Part 107, there's a 3 statute mile regulation that says the weather has to be at least 3 statute miles. I know I see YouTubers that post videos of themselves flying in snow with very limited visibility, and I know they have a lot of followers, but just because they do it is not, doesn't mean that it's legal. So, yeah, don't do it. The idea here's, and I know people say, well, why can't I do it? The idea is because aircraft are still allowed to fly in, other aircraft are allowed to fly in limited visibility conditions. If you can't see your drone, you can't maintain distance from other aircraft, can't maintain visual line of sight, you can't maintain distance with other aircraft. So it could lead to collision. Obviously, if you're flying in clouds or in the fog, how are you going to make sure you don't hit something like a building or a tree or something else? How are you going to make sure you don't fly over people, moving vehicles? It's a risk management, risk assessment thing, right? So that's the reason. Okay. Whew. Am I getting roasted for my Android comments? Nope, not yet. Maybe we haven't gotten to that point yet. No, like I said, it's all in joking. Ben and I, we argue about this in GIF, the proper pronunciation for GIF, which is GIF, obviously. So, okay. If a Class D is closed, Luke Air Force Base, do I still need Lance? If it's closed, you have to see in the chart supplement what the airspace does when it closes. If it turns into Class Echo or if it turns into Class Golf, then different rules. Okay. Whew. I think that's it. All right. It's past 5. No live next week. I will be in Texas, probably, just getting there by that time. So none of that. On Friday, we will have a happy hour in the community. If you're not part of the community, community.pilotinstitute.com. Go check it out. It's free. You just have to be enrolled in one of our courses, whether a free course or a paid course. A lot of discussions in the community. So very, very active location, which is cool. That's it. That's all I have. We'll see you there. Have a great week. And if not, we'll see you on Friday for a news update.